I hated my job, hated my life, hated everything. The only way I can describe it is like a huge oozy, pussy pimple that suddenly burst.
I used to listen to people with my mouth open.
Physically open.
I'm just waiting for them to finally shut up. And I was shocked.
That's even after closing your mouth.
That's even after closing my mouth, right? Even after closing my mouth.
Usually, you can't see your own blind spot, but once you see it, you really cannot unsee it. They say that gorillas, when they're in love, the female gorilla would nitpick on the male gorilla.
Wow, okay. So maybe
I have no idea how that came about.
Yeah, maybe they like it then. It's hot, spicy, and it's hands-on.
Oh, wow. I don't know where that's going to.
Literally, my heart just clenched.
Yeah. Ever wondered why your good intentions don't always grant you trust? Welcome to the Own Your BS show, where we help you to turn your invisible barriers into influence. I'm Cindy Tien, and in this episode, we'll be diving into the leadership blind spots no one wants to talk about. What you're blind to, what it's costing you, and what you can do about it. And with me today is my co-host Grant Bosnick, whom I'd love to introduce. Grant is an award-winning author, leadership and team expert, and the managing director of Yes, Your Empowering Solutions. A very big warm welcome, Grant. And would you like to tell the audience a little bit more about you?
Yeah, and thank you so much, Cindy, for inviting me here. It's my pleasure and honor to be here on your show as a guest here. So a little bit also about me as well, too, is that I'm a former professional drummer. For over 10 years, I was a professional drummer, recorded 13 albums, toured across North America and toured Japan. Wow. I used to teach critical thinking in business school at one point in my life. My background's in psychology and neuroscience. And I have now worked with over 100 Fortune 500 and FTSE 100 clients in over 45 countries on 6 continents. And I'm still hoping to get something with Antarctica.
Wow.
So that would be my goal one day. So if anybody's watching this, if you got a project in Antarctica, do let me know as well.
Call him, okay?
Yeah.
And if you need a concert, call him as well.
I got you a little present as well, too. This is what I give my clients. It's a Grant Upbeat Bosnick drum stress ball.
Okay.
So it's on brand as a former drummer. Got my nickname in there, and also grip strength enhances longevity.
Thank you. Oh, this is so cute. So what am I supposed to do with this? Is a stress ball?
It's a stress ball. Yeah, you can squeeze it. It's a thinking ball as well, and grip strength enhances longevity, so you'll live longer, Cindy.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I desperately need it at this season of my life. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get into the groove of things, okay? So we are going to be talking about leadership blind spots. So let's talk about this. And, both of us work a lot with leaders. So we're going to start by owning our own BS. And that's how I like to kind of start the conversation. So let's talk about our own BSs. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'll start with mine. So I was, this was 15 to 16 years ago. And I can only describe what I was going through as a very expensive midlife crisis. I was working in an American MNC. I hated my job, hated my life, hated everything. I had a mentor then, and she said, I'm going to send you to a 3-day self-awareness course. I had absolutely no idea what is self-awareness. It was a word that I was totally clueless about. So I attended this course. I paid for it with my own pocket. It was a couple of thousands of dollars, which made me really grumpy because I didn't want to be there. But I thought, there's nothing you can lose. So I went for the course. And I remember that there was this coach. He was definitely a Caucasian. Strict, military strict. He would give us, I remember, 30 to 40 minutes for lunch break. But just before the lunch break ends, he would play a song, like a minute before the lunch break ends. So let's say we get 1:30 to 2 p.m., for example. At 1:59, he'll play a song. And by 2 p.m., you had better be seated. If you're not seated, he'll call you up and chew you up,
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this person is not the usual, right? I mean, who fusses about a 1 minute late type of lunch break? Anyway, it was a 3-day course. And by the 3rd day, like I mentioned earlier, I really didn't want to be there. So I was a little bit passive. Whenever he got us to discuss something, I would just keep quiet. Whenever he says reflect, I'll be looking at my mobile phone. So I wasn't very participative. On the 3rd day, he came to me and then he said, Cindy, I noticed that you're not participating at all. you paid for this with your own money and yet you're not fully here. So he asked me, why is it that this is happening? And I remember thinking about it for a moment and I said, well, I guess that's just who I am. You know, I'm just somebody who prefers to observe other people before I participate in something. And then he looked at me with this strict face and he said, you know, he used this quote and I always will remember. He said, how you do anything is how you do everything. Okay. And he said, consider how passive you are in this program. And I'd like you to think about how this passivity of yours is also showing up in the other areas of your life. That was the moment I suddenly saw it. It was almost like this huge, the only way I can describe it is like a huge oozy, pussy pimple that suddenly burst. Oh no. And I realized, oh my God, that's so true. All this while, I've only known how to complain about how crappy my life is, but I've never really taken the responsibility to do something about it. Yeah. So it's almost like, you know, our blind spots, right? That was the beginning of me saying this blind spot of mine. Yeah. Usually, you can't see your own blind spot, but once you see it, you really cannot unsee it. Yeah. And I was already that time in my probably early 30s. Yeah. So that was how I got to know about my very first blind spot. So how about you, Grant? So tell us about yours. What is your definition of a blind spot? Yeah. And what could be one blind spot that you discovered about yourself?
Yeah. So I got a very simple definition of a blind spot. I think that a blind spot is that gap between our intentions and how other people experience us. Now, I work with leaders all over the world, and most leaders, 99.9% of leaders, don't go out there with the intention of, I want to make people distrust me, and I want people not to like me, and I want people to think I'm a horrible person. They don't do that. But sometimes it happens. Yeah. There is a gap between what people's intentions are and how the world and how other people might experience them. And I've got my own as well. Now, I'll tell you a story. I used to work in the entertainment industry as an event producer. And this is going back maybe about 25 years ago. I was working on this medium-sized project. We had 24 people in my team, including musicians, dancers, visual artists, staff, stage managers. And it was a great show. We had great sponsors, great venue. The media was hyping it. We sold it out. It was a great looking stage. And everybody, at least I thought, was super stoked about this event. And so we finished the event. It was successful. The media wrote great things about it. The audience was raving about it. The sponsors were happy. The venue was happy. And so I thought, it sounds like a great success. And then a month after that, one of the team members comes up to me and he says, Grant, you're like a bulldozer. Wow. You just push through anything and anyone to reach the goal and you don't care. And that really just hurt me. That hit me really hard, that I thought in my heart, I was doing this for the team so that everybody could be successful. We're in this together. And I realized that not everybody wants that speed, that push, that level of energy. I realized that different people have different time needs. Different people thrive under different circumstances. So being that bulldozer, and I don't really like that word. I'm not using that in a positive way. Just pushing and pushing and pushing with as much energy as I can, with as much goal drive as I can. It really, I don't think it's that healthy for everybody. And as you said earlier, that we don't see our own blind spots. It's only when somebody told me that in a very, kind of like I got hit by a bulldozer at that moment,
You thought you were driving your bus to success, but you're flattening this person.
Somebody just hit me in the head with something, right? And it changed me. It changed me, that I realized, I can't just push all the time because it's not healthy for people and they're not going to thrive. Right?
And that person is really brave to come and tell you that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I thanked him. Well, I didn't thank him initially. I kind of had to absorb it for a few months first, and then later, as
go through grief for a while.
A bulldozer.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and for being really vulnerable. So I was just doing a little bit of research, and a little quiz for you, and I always like to do that. And this is for our audiences as well, okay? According to research, what percentage of people are truly self-aware? A, 45 to 50%, B, 35 to 40%, or C, 10 to 15%?
Well, I know the exact answer to that question, so I'm going to say 10 to 15.
Smart. Okay.
Yeah.
You probably have read this research. So this is done
Tasha
by...
Urich.
Yeah, Tasha Urich.
Yeah,
so her
yeah.
book about self-awareness, right? So she went around interviewed, I think 5,000 people as research for her book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because every time when I do a workshop or a training program, I get people to rate themselves. How self-aware do you think you are? I'll always get 7, 8. I've got times where people rate themselves as 10, right? And the research actually shows that 95% of people think that they're self-aware.
Right. Yeah.
But the correct answer is only 10 to 15%.
Right, yeah. It's an 80%, 85% gap.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty crazy because I would have thought that I was very aware of myself, but the truth was I wasn't.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who hasn't done any inner work, and if you think you're aware, please beware. You probably are not.
Can I add one thing as well to that?
Absolutely.
Because what's interesting is that, and Tasha, the way she describes self-awareness is the same definition that I have as well too. So it's not just aware of my own values, my own purpose, but I'm also aware of how other people perceive me.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of self-awareness is how other people perceive me. And I think that's where the biggest gap is.
Yes, the awareness of yourself and awareness of your impact on other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how they perceive you. Is it similar to how you perceive yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that very much. So let's bring this to leadership because that's the work that you and I do. What are some blind spots you see repeated in leaders and no one is willing to say it out loud?
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
So now we're going to say it out loud.
I'm willing to say it out loud. I'm willing to say it out loud. And I highlighted 3 of them to share. One of them is that success creates blindness.
Wow.
The
Success
higher up
creates blindness.
The higher up a leader gets in the organization, the more blind they are to these blind spots. Now, there's a couple of reasons for it. One is that it's less often that people are willing to share their feedback to these people. It could be career suicide for them. It could be an uncomfortable situation to share this kind of feedback with someone in a executive or a senior level or C-suite position. The second reason is that, and I'm borrowing something from Marshall Goldsmith. So he talked about leaders are successful because of certain things they've done, whether that's sales, whether they're the best coder, whether they have visionary. So there's things that they've done that they are successful because of that. They're also successful in spite of certain aspects of their life. Now, this could be that they're very impatient. They could be a little bit aggressive the way they speak. Maybe they're impulsive. Maybe they're a little, even sometimes too introverted and keep to themselves, and nobody really understands what are they thinking about? I don't know. It's like they're too hard to read. So maybe there's something that they're doing, which is, again, that's a blind spot. And they're, because of the success that they have had, that creates even more blindness to the areas that they need to work on. So that's one of them. I think another one is that our strengths become weaknesses. And my own example I shared earlier about, I was passionate, I was energetic, I was goal-driven. I think that's a strength.
Yeah.
But when it's overdone, it can become a weakness. So I was creating a negative impact. I call it unintentional negative impact.
Unintentional negative impact.
Unintentional negative impact. And then the opposite is IPI, which is intentional positive impact. But we create this unintentional negative impact. That bulldozer that I was before, I had no idea that was happening. Maybe somebody might be decisive in making their decisions, but then when it gets over extreme, it becomes impatience. Or maybe somebody who's confident normally, but if they're overly confident, they become arrogant or something that, right?
Or they become unrelatable.
Yeah. And I remember when we were talking before, someone might have high standards and then it becomes perfectionism.
Yeah.
Did you know anyone like that ever who's got these high standards and become perfectionists?
So many. And often they end up working the hardest and they get all burnt out because nobody can meet their standards. So they end up having to do everything themselves. Yeah. So I can imagine how that can cause a lot of distrust. And I think one thing is that sometimes, okay, it depends on how you see perfectionism. It is a good thing, right? Because you have high standards. You're professional. You've got form. You've got structure. You've got depth. But when does it end? And are you role modeling the correct behavior?
Yeah.
And Brené Brown, I once heard one of her podcasts, she said that if you're a perfectionist, one question you need to ask yourself is, what are you truly afraid of?
That's
a very sobering question to reflect on.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask ourselves, Yeah. I think the third one that I was highlighting as well, too, is I think that a lot of leaders believe that trust is built by talking, that they need to have all the answers. And I was actually interviewing a senior level leader from my next book this morning. And that was one thing that she said as well, too, that when she started in her career as a manager, now she's the GM of a major multinational company. But as a manager, she thought, I need the answer. I need to tell the team what we need to do. And I don't think that's true. Leaders don't need that. This was my last book here that came out in 2023. Tailored approaches to self-leadership. Bite-sized approach using psychology and neuroscience, and Marshall Goldsmith did the foreword for that as well too. And I'm now writing the next book as well. So one of the chapters in there, I was talking about executive presence, and I have this model where we sometimes want to be the most interesting person in the room. So, for example, I'm a keynote speaker. Up on stage, I want to be the most interesting person in the room. I want to show my credibility. I want to build trust by having good ideas, transforming the audience in some way. So I want to be the most interesting person. And then on the other side, that's the direct presence. And then subtle presence is when we want to be the most interested person in the room. So we're sitting back. We're listening, we're mindful, we're absorbing what's going on. We know the dynamics of everything happening around us and between the people here. And so if I'm also an executive coach. When I'm coaching one-to-one with somebody, I want to sit back and listen. I want to observe, be mindful of how they're speaking, what they're saying, what the gaps are in what they're saying, how the invisible stakeholders who are imaginary in the room might respond to them. And I think with leaders as well, too, with their own teams, that a leader might be in most interesting when they're sharing the strategy or the vision of the organization. But when they want to build that engagement and value their team members, that's when they want to sit back and be more of that interested person to really pay attention and respect their team members. So I think that's another blind spot I think a lot of leaders have, is that they need to be able to balance both of those. And
it's a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
And we are in the speakers industry. We are very well aware that not all speakers are great listeners. I've come across many speakers who cannot stop speaking. Even in one-on-one conversations, they are speaking 99% of the time. They want to give you advice. And then I'm like, oh gosh, for once, can I have something to say? So it's tough. I think it's not easy. And I think the acid test to whether you're able to flex is, do you have a sense of also humility, that you see people as equal as you are, and stop giving yourself this pressure that you must be the one having all the answers.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. You got me thinking about a leader that I was having a conversation with as well. So he had one problem. And the main problem he had was he felt that his company and the industry is moving at a very fast pace. And he's very fast paced as well. So one of his struggles was that he's quote unquote, he said, my leaders are not moving at the same speed as me, at the same pace that I want them to be. And he decided that, I'm going to send all my leaders for coaching. Except himself. So I had a conversation with him, and he was telling me about leader A, leader B, leader C. And I just asked him this question: have you ever thought of going through coaching yourself? How open are you to that? And he said, I'm open to it. So I say, you know what, let's do like a little 360, assessment, a little reporting for you to get a little bit more feedback on what could be areas you could work on. So we did the 360 feedback for him. It was really interesting because we got, quite a big group of people to sort of assess him very anonymously. And they all kind of say the same thing about his gifts. So he's very direct, visionary, efficient, fast, goal-driven. What he didn't know was that he was also very transactional. He was a poor listener, and his team called him as low self-awareness. Yeah, so extremely, extremely low in the human side of things. And he was like, I knew all this while that I'm low on listening skills and empathy. But what he didn't know is what it's costing him. Yeah, he kept thinking that, it's always about the speed, right? My team is too slow. But actually, it's not about speed, but it's about safety.
Yeah.
People were just not comfortable opening up to speak to him. Yeah, so the acid test of a good leader, able to flex your speed, flex your speaking, and flex your listening skills.
And as I'm listening to your story, I think one of the ironies that I'm hearing in that is that the more he tried to push them to go fast, probably the slower they went because they didn't trust him. They didn't feel that vibe with him. They didn't feel that rapport. We want to be able to slow things down to build that relationship in order to go faster. So if we slow down that trust, we slow down that relationship building, that will actually help us to reach the goals, help us to hit the KPIs faster than if we try to just push.
Yes, exactly. And if you cannot rally people to take the same journey as you, then you're taking a walk in the park all by yourself.
Oh, exactly. I use that. Yeah, I said, a leader without followers is just someone going for a walk.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You need that followership.
Yeah. And relationships take time. You cannot hurry. Different personalities, all of that. There's so much to leadership. So I'm glad we're talking about this. Okay.
Yeah.
A leader who has never done any inner work. How does a leader then actually uncover? Because I believe that we all want to be better leaders, right? So how does a leader actually uncover a blind spot they can't see? And what has to happen for that moment of seeing to occur?
Yeah. And I think we've already said it a few times already in this conversation. I'll answer it more directly. It's called feedback, and that's exactly what we need because either from a friend, from a coach, from our own line managers, from our direct reports, from peers. It could be 360 feedback. It could just be a casual conversation with a friend because the reason we call them blind spots is because we can't see them, but other people can see them. And the only way I'm going to understand how other people experience me is I need to get that feedback from them. And the story that you were telling about that 360 feedback remind me of the story that I was thinking about myself here. So, 15 years ago, when I first became an executive coach, I realized at that moment that I used to listen to people with my mouth open. Now, this meant that I was
physically open.
Physically, my mouth was open. And it meant that I wasn't...
What were you thinking?
See, I wasn't really listening to them. I'm just waiting for them to finally shut up so I could say something that I clearly thought was more important to them and more important than them. I'm not listening at all. I'm just like, okay, when are they going to finish talking, right? And I'm sure some of you've done that before, haven't you? Right? But when I became, obviously I wasn't self-aware at that moment until I realized that. Then I became self-aware. And then I started listening to people with my mouth closed. And my lips are touching until the very last drop of what that person is saying. Right? And I've really found that it helped. Really,
sorry, it's just so hilarious to me. I can't imagine talking to somebody and mouth is open. A little cartoon, okay.
But it really helped me to open up my ears. And so I thought I became a better listener, right? And that was 15 years ago. I thought I became a better listener. I did this 360 assessment 8 years ago. And I wrote down there as one of my strengths that I'm a good listener. I got the results of that. I had 11 anonymous stakeholders that filled it out for me. 7 out of 11 said on occasion they felt like they weren't heard. And I was shocked.
And that's even after closing your mouth.
That's even after closing my mouth, right? Even after closing my mouth. And it took Cindy, it took me 2 years to realize that we were both correct. And I had this amazing aha moment at that time, because in my head, I was listening to them. Every single word I understood. I was listening to them and I processed it, and I would reply to what they just said. Now, at the same time, they also felt they weren't heard. I wasn't giving that pause, that space, or even the empathic listening to them, which I do now, to show them that, yes, not only was I listening, I want you to feel heard. So I would play back for them. So Cindy, if I understand correctly, you just said blah, 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 and it made you feel frustrated because blah, blah, blah. Is that right? Yeah, Grant, that's exactly it. It's only once I can feel that they are heard, that is when I'm going to respond to them. It completely changed my paradigm, that 360.
That's so powerful. So it's not just listening, but making sure that they feel listened to. That's the key.
Exactly. And that's in their mind, not in my mind. I was stopping too soon. I stopped with my mind. I listen to them. I understand them. I got to go farther. They have to feel heard. They have to feel understood.
And there's a big part of emotional expression as well.
Yeah, so that's my long story. To the short answer was that the way that people can uncover these blind spots is through feedback. I'll share another story with you as well too about feedback as well. And this was quite a powerful story, I think, as well. So I told you I'm working on my next book. It's called Tales from the Field. I'm interviewing 54 senior level and C-suite leaders about their tragedies, their failures, their disaster stories. Some of these are like trench war stories these people are telling me, the learnings that they've had, amazing stuff that they're sharing. One leader I interviewed about maybe 2 weeks ago, James, he used to be the regional head for R&D for Asia Pacific for a large global organization. And while he held that position, he was diagnosed with cancer. And he is like former military. He is like ripped, buff, huge species of a human. He is massive, really buff, really ripped, and former military. And he called himself Iron Man. And he said, I believe leaders should be Iron Man. We don't tell people our vulnerabilities. We don't tell people that anything is wrong. We have to put that armor on. At that time, he was working with a coach, and the coach said to him, what do you think would happen if you told your team? And so he thought about it, and then he decided in a moment of vulnerability to tell his team that he was diagnosed with cancer. And the team said, we are so glad you told us. We knew something was wrong, but we just didn't know what it was. Another team member broke down in tears, and she said, my son is diagnosed with cancer. I have never told anybody. This is the first time I'm saying it now.
Wow.
And then other people started sharing things that they had never shared before. That psychological safety just skyrocketed. And James told me even as a result, they became a higher performing team. They bonded together. They were reaching, exceeding KPIs, exceeding expectations. And all because he, took that Iron Man costume off and became human.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
The power of vulnerability then goes into psychological safety and then creating unity. That's amazing. That's such a powerful story. I want to talk about a study that was done. I was doing a bit of research. A study done by Leadership IQ. It's a leadership research firm in the US. And they surveyed over 1,200 employees. And it says here that 84% of bosses showed no change even after being told directly about their blind spots.
Interesting.
Yeah, really, really interesting. What thoughts do you have about that?
I think that being told about something may not have the same impact as if we discover it ourselves. When we have this aha moment that, oh, wow. So I think maybe just telling people about their blind spots might not be so effective. I think maybe if they're kind of guided into thinking about it themselves and they kind of discover it themselves, that might be more powerful, or maybe they weren't in the space to receive it.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So
know?
the way you tell it, the right timing to tell it,
Yeah.
and letting them discover their blind spots.
Cindy, let me tell you what's wrong with you. If you premise it like that, it's just like
then
you
we
get defensive, right?
Totally.
They're not going to listen to
It's
a
the right
single
time
word you
and place,
say.
and there has to be trust. If I don't trust you,
Yeah.
I'm going to take any of your feedback. So I once had a conversation with this person who's considered really senior in my industry. So he wanted to give me feedback about something. He said, hey, I thought I'll just share with you a few strategies on how you can market yourself better. So I went on the call with him, feeling like, it was totally like innocent call. He offered it. I went on the call, and I literally feel like I was bulldozed by this person. I left the call. I called my mom, and I felt like I've just been bullied. And this person had all good intentions. And I felt that I've just been totally bullied and bulldozed by this person, that it brought back so much trauma, like so much criticism. I'm like, I wasn't ready for that. I didn't trust you enough. I don't know you. You don't know me. Who are you to give me that level of feedback? Yeah, so I became very defensive, and my walls kind of went up. Yeah, and I didn't even ask for that feedback. So that's another thing. So maybe I have to reflect on my own BS myself, but that was one example of when I took the feedback in a very negative way because I didn't have a good relationship with this person. He was just speaking all the way without asking me any questions. He did not ask me how I felt about anything. And I was like, I never ever want to be on a call with you getting feedback from you again.
It was kind of like,
it was just boom, 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 30 minutes of telling you what you need to do. You are not this, you should do this. I'm like, what? I feel like I'm a 2-year-old once again. Yeah, so coming to this, we talk about the fact that not everybody is ready for change. It got me thinking about another story of, I was doing a little group coaching and there was a very senior person in there, and then the rest of his team members in there. And this leader, he openly shared that, quote unquote, my self-awareness journey only started when I was in my 40s. So everybody, his team members asked him, so what made you want to start this self-awareness journey? So he said, I hired a coach. And this was a long time ago. And in Singapore, people typically didn't want to pay for coaches then. It wasn't an in thing. So he said he hired a coach. So everybody asked him, what made you hire a coach? Because it's not a common thing to do. And he said, even though I was very successful at work, I was struggling at home. I was having problems with my marriage. My wife hated me. My children were avoiding me. And he realized that because he was so senior, everybody at work was applauding him openly, but everyone at home was secretly avoiding him. Yeah, I think that was when he sort of found enough pain to make that change. Yeah. Which is really powerful as well. So
I think also, that a lot of leaders feel that they should be able to handle things themselves and that they don't need feedback. There was actually another study that was done. They asked senior level leaders that, do you need feedback? And like 90% said no.
Wow.
And then they asked the same people, it's like, when you get feedback, do you find it helpful? And 90% said yes. So somehow, right? So somehow that they don't want to admit that they want feedback, but when they get it, it's very helpful for them. I mean, there was a story, if any sports fans out there, that Vince Lombardi, who was American football NFL coach, and this is going back a long, long time ago, before we were ever born, in the 1950s, right?
Okay. I'm kidding.
In the 1950s, right? So like in 1958, he became the head coach for the Green Bay Packers. And on his first day of training camp, after practice, all the players came and took a knee in front of him, and they thought he was just going to yell at them for everything that they did wrong. And he didn't. He was known for being a really tough as nails coach, right? And he didn't do that. He asked them a question. He said, how did I do? And they're looking around very strangely. He said, I'm serious. This is my first day on the job. How did I do? What did I do that you liked? What did I do that you didn't like? What do you want me to do more of? And he wrote it all down, and he did everything on that list. And he took them to 5 consecutive Super Bowl championships.
Wow.
And I think that if Vince Lombardi, one of the toughest sports coaches of any sport, can do this, all leaders can do that. ask for feedback. Give people permission to give yourself feedback.
And it shows so much self-assurance, so much character, and so much humility to be able to ask those questions openly.
Yeah. How did I do?
Yeah, it's difficult. Wow. Yeah, so tell us, Grant, what's a tool or process that you have been using with leaders to surface and work through a blind spot that they might not know that they had?
Yeah. This is a tool, I call it the 2 mirrors method.
2 mirrors.
Yeah, 2 mirrors. The 2 mirrors framework. So the first mirror is self-reflection. So we ask ourselves the question, what strength am I proud of? And under pressure, how might these strengths become overused or liabilities? Because all of our strengths, when they're overused, can become a shadow, can become a negative, can become a weakness, or create unintentional negative impact for people. So I want to play a little game with you.
Sure.
All right. And those of you watching, you play along as well too. So I'm going to say a strength.
Okay.
And you've got to guess or come up with, what do you think might that weakness be if that strength is overused?
It's overused.
Yeah. So I gave an example already earlier today.
So it's the opposite of the strength.
So I said, so when it's overused, it may not necessarily be the opposite of it, but if you do too much of it, it becomes that. So for example,
like a maladaptive version of it.
Yeah. So for example, I'll give you one example, then I'll tell you the strengths. You guess, come up with the overused version. So someone who's confident might, if they're overused, might become arrogant. Right. For example. All right. So that's the example I'm giving you. And I already shared that example earlier. I did mention earlier in this episode some other examples, and some of them might come up again in my list here. So if any of you were listening, you might already know the answer. If you're not listening, play along and guess. All right.
Yeah.
So let's say speed. So if the strength is speed, if that's overused, what might that become?
Impatience.
Okay, that's what I wrote down as well too. How about passion?
Overwhelming.
Could be overwhelming, isn't it? If it's too much passion.
Or annoying.
Annoying.
Yeah, I think it could be annoying. If somebody comes to me and I'm in this deja vu mode and he comes with a lot of energy and passion, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Go get a beer. Okay, is that the correct answer?
Yeah, well, there's multiple answers. I had intensity.
Oh, intensity.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, they all could be right. There's more than one answer.
Right?
Yeah, they could be too
They can make people feel very, very unsafe as well, coming at me with all this energy.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, how about humility?
What is a
So if they're humble, being humble. If they're too humble.
Overused. Lack of direction.
Could be, yeah.
Would it be that?
Could be a lack of direction, yeah. Lack of conviction, maybe
lack of honesty as well.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the bad way, but in a way that you're so humble, and sometimes, humility and people pleasing, sometimes, you kind of gels together, and then you're so nice that you're afraid to tell the person the truth. And if the person doesn't get the truth, and then they don't change, and then it goes into that full superficial circle of you're never getting things direct and honest.
Yeah. I had also down here passivity as well, too. They might become passive, right, as well. Okay, how about detail-oriented?
Nitpicking.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently, they say that gorillas, when they're in love, the female gorilla would nitpick on the male gorilla.
Wow, okay. So maybe they like it.
I have no idea how that came about.
No,
but
maybe they like it then. Yeah, I had micromanagement as well too. If you're too detail focused to the extreme, might be micromanaging people then. The last one I had was high standards.
High standards. Well, perfectionism. Perfectionism, and then it makes people feel that they are I'm using sentences because I don't have an actual word. It makes people feel like they are so far from you, they can never meet up to your standards. You end up having to do everything alone. So you're sort of creating this gap between you and the rest of the people.
Yeah.
What would that word be?
Yeah, I don't know, untouchable maybe?
Untouchable, okay.
Yeah, but in a negative sense, untouchable,
Disconnection.
Yeah, disconnection, that's a good one, yeah. Yeah, and I've had these conversations with leaders, and it really becomes a very fascinating, interesting conversation, because often I think that our some of our biggest blind spots are our strengths. But because there is a positive side to those strengths, then that's why it becomes a hard one to think about. So that's the first mirror, self-reflection. Then the second mirror is feedback. And so we've already talked a bit about feedback already, and I wanted to share something also with you. And I want to give you the challenge, Cindy, and I want to give all your listeners and viewers out there the same challenge as well, too. All right. So pick 2 or 3 of your close, trusted clients and ask them the question, what do you say about me to other people when I'm not in the room? And it's not just a imaginary visualization exercise. I mean, really go ask these people. Really go ask these people. And all of you watching this as well, go and ask these people. Pick 2 or 3 people, clients, specifically clients that you really trust, and ask them, honestly, what do you say about me to other people when I'm not in the room? I did this with 3 of my closest clients, right? And some of the answers came back I kind of expected, but some of them, or one of them in particular, was quite, I thought, oh, that's eye-opening for me. So somebody said, I said, a catalyst for inspiration.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, that's a really nice thing for someone to say about me when I'm not there, a catalyst for inspiration. So that's my challenge for you and for other people doing that. I'll share another really quite humorous story. And this is someone you know as well, too, Uma Radchia. You know Uma, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So I asked Uma, and for those of you who don't know Uma is an extremely creative person. She is in advertising. She used to work with Ogilvy in the creative department.
And she wrote a great book as well.
And she wrote a great book as well, award-winning creative for commercials. Then she started her own firm. And I asked Uma, I said, Uma, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? And she says, where's Uma? Wow. And I thought that was super funny, right?
That's really cute.
Where's
That's
Uma?
really
It's
cute.
like, that's what she wants people to say when she's like,
that.
hey, Cindy, where's Uma? You know, I don't know. Where is she? Okay. That's what she wants people to say when she's not there. It's like, Uma, that's why you're an award-winning creative. So,
exactly.
Yeah, pretty funny
really
stuff.
Cool. Really cool.
So challenge for you, Cindy, challenge for those. Have you ever done that? Have you ever asked some clients, what do they say?
I've never done that. I mean, not with clients, maybe with close friends. Yeah. That could be a really interesting activity for me to do. So now would be time for us to kind of go through a little problem solving question, okay? Yeah, so a little case study. A leader gets promoted specifically, and it's very related to what we've just talked about, okay? Specifically because they're decisive and fast. 3 years later, the exact same trait, unchanged, is now the reason the team doesn't trust this person. Same behavior, opposite verdict. What would be your top immediate 3 tips for this leader as he stays true to himself while gaining trust from the team?
Yeah. And some of this is going to be echoing what I said earlier as well, but using some different words now for it. I say that, don't abandon your strength, but adjust the dosage.
Don't abandon your strength, but adjust the dosage of the strength. Of the strength,
yeah. Okay. So this person's strength might be speed. It doesn't mean this person has to slow down, but adjust that interpretation of the speed. When are we going to go fast? When are we going to go slow? It doesn't mean everything has to be slow. So whatever that strength might be, adjust the dosage of it. Now, I'll give my own example as well, too. So as you can tell, and as all of you can probably tell, I'm quite hyper and quite energetic.
You have a lot of passion.
Whether it's too much.
But I don't find you annoying. At least not for now.
Right. But I did find, though, in having worked all across Asia, in certain cultures, it can be overwhelming. Like in Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, for example, where too much energy might come across as being overwhelming. I did a personality test, and the coach, the first thing she said to me is, "Oh, Grant, you're a double extrovert."
Double extrovert?
I didn't even know that existed.
Does that mean?
A double extrovert. Okay, I always thought I was an extrovert, but a double extrovert?
Wow.
So apparently I'm a double extrovert. So
hence the bulldozing.
So I also find with quieter groups or introverts that it can also come across overwhelming. So I've had to then, manage the dosage of that level of energy and passion. Yeah. So same thing with this leader as well, too. With that speed, don't have to be go all the time. Like, the bulldozer sounds like a bulldozer leader to me, this guy. Sometimes go, sometimes hold back, sometimes go. You decide, right? I think another one is ask before telling. You know, when I was hearing this case study from you about this leader, that they seem to be someone who likes to just tell, right? And I think we need to ask before telling that our expertise is not what's going to define us as a leader. Our ability to ask intelligent questions, our ability to create a space where people can share their ideas, our ability to allow for ideas to surface. I mean, a lot of leaders have smart people that work under them. We call them knowledge workers. Peter Drucker called a knowledge worker, defined it, someone who's smarter than their boss. And there's a lot of leaders who lead smart people. They have great ideas. Let them come up with great ideas. And even if you have the same idea, don't tell them, oh, Cindy, I have the same idea, because I just took the ownership away from you.
And it's very tempting to say, I had the same idea.
Yeah. Just
great minds think alike.
Close your mouth and say, great idea, Cindy. Let's do that. You've empowered them. They were the one who came up with the idea. And once they have ownership, they're more commitment to it, greater execution as a result too.
Very nice. I love that.
I think then the third tip I would say is that make your thinking visible. So as a former high-speed leader, I can understand that, you know, this leader's brain thinks fast. They come up with ideas quickly. They put 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 6 and 2 and 4 together very quickly and come up with a solution that is a great one. But what comes across to the other people is like the final thought, the conclusion only. So this leader, I think my next tip is that they need to break down their thinking. What were the steps that led to that? What was the rationale or the reasoning behind that? Why are they leaning this way rather than that way? And I had my own experience with that too. I'm very much of a big picture thinker. I would come up with the goal. Okay, team, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this and we're going to reach that goal. And they're like staring at me like I'm in outer space. They're like, Grant, we have no idea what you're talking about. Right? But in my head, it was so clear where we're going. You know, but I'm also like, I skip steps 1, 3, 10, 4, 8, and 6, and I just want to hit the goal, right? So I'm not really that process focused to begin with, but I learned to do it. So I learned to work backwards. From my big picture, I work backwards. What are the steps to where we are now? Then I reverse the order from where we are now to where we need to go. And everybody's, Grant, we finally understand what you're talking about. So I think with this leader here as well, too, not just giving that final idea, that final conclusion, but break it down. What are the steps that led to that? What was the reasoning for that? Why are you maybe leaning towards A rather than B? So make that thinking visible to the team as well.
I love that. So it really is taking the time to explain your vision.
Yeah.
Why you're thinking that way. What do you think could be the process? What's your thinking process? Yeah, it's still slowing down, you know, having a relationship, right? Really powerful. And I think when we do that, it feels like people are more willing to participate because they now understand what they are co-creating with you rather than, okay, you just have your own goals and then who am I here? I'm just a follower, just a worker. And nobody wants to be feeling that I'm just a worker. They want to be journeying with you rather than just following behind you. And that also got me thinking about this group that I was working with. So there was a general manager and his subordinate. We're doing a group coaching program and we were doing role plays. So the general manager wanted her subordinate to be recorded. So her let's just give her a name. I'm just going to call her Lena. Okay. So she told Lena, you know, we're going to do a role play on you. We're going to record. So I asked the GM, the general manager, are you sure Lena's okay with being recorded? She turns to Lena and she says, you're okay, right? You okay? I'm going to record you. You're okay? Can I have your permission? And then Lena was like, okay. And I can kind of tell like she wasn't very willing. So I was like, okay, let's pause for now. And then I turned to Lena and I said, Lena, are you sure you're okay? Or would you prefer not to be recorded? She slowed down and she said, I really would prefer not to be recorded. I think my point here is that sometimes people might be saying yes to you, but they might not always be honest with you. Just because of the speed and the energy and all that's coming along.
Yeah, and also the hierarchy of that person who said it. I mean, the space shuttle is another example too, that the top people at NASA, they believe there was like a 1 in a 10 million chance that space shuttle would blow up. But the engineers on the ground knew it was a 1 in 1,000 chance. But because those top people said, we need to launch on this day, it's going to be a big event. Absolutely, we need to launch. So those engineers kept their mouths shut.
Wow.
You know, they didn't feel safe to be able to speak up that we think the risk is too high. Yeah. And they've actually termed this now captainitis, like naming it after a captain from an aircraft, where if the captain decides something, nobody goes against them. Even if they think, well, that's not the safe way to do things, but nobody's going to say anything. Once that top person has made an announcement, nobody speaks up. So I think that's another reason why top people should create that space for other people's ideas.
Create the space. Your blind spots are so dangerous.
Yeah. You have too much influence on people if you speak first. I think we should introduce product A, not B and C. Any objections? No, who's going to speak
Your
up?
mouth is open. Okay. In the interest of time, we are going to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, through 5 questions, and you only have 5 seconds to answer it. Okay?
This is when the fun happens.
Okay, question 1.
Yeah.
Would you rather get brutally honest feedback in front of the whole team or a polite lie in private?
Oh, that's a good one. I'll say a polite lie in public.
I would have chosen that as well. I think we're too egoistic.
You know, when you said when you said brutally honest feedback in public, literally my heart just clenched. I'm
it's actually
I don't care what the second option is. I'll choose the second option.
Thank you for being really honest. Okay, so we're the same. Number 2, if your leadership style was a dish at a restaurant, what would it be called on the menu?
Oh, okay. Not the type of food, but the actual name of it, or can it be a type of food? A
type of food to mix to ensure that everybody understands.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm thinking pizza.
Pizza, and why?
Well, because it's hot, spicy, and it's hands-on.
Oh, wow. I don't know where that's going to, but I'm thinking a little bit harder. Okay, question number 3. Would you rather find out an embarrassing blind spot from a stranger or from a work team member?
Oh, that's fascinating. I would actually prefer to find it out from a stranger, you know, because I find that they know me less than the coworker or someone who knows me well. So I'm very curious, really, what a stranger might see in that impact.
Yeah. I would have chosen the same answer.
Yeah. Why?
I think it's just less confronting.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, a stranger, you tell me and then off you go, never ever see you again. But the other person is like, oh gosh, I'm going to see you again.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe it's just one of those things. Okay. Number 4.
Yeah.
What's a piece of leadership advice you secretly think is nonsense?
Nonsense. I was expecting the opposite of something that would be positive. Okay, positive. I got a good positive one. Some secretly that is nonsense. A leadership advice that I think is secretly nonsense. That leaders need to be right. You know, and
strong.
You know, they need to be strong. Yeah, you need to be a strong leader. I wrote a piece once that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. And I think that it is okay that we are not always strong. Let's take our armor off. All of you take your armor off too.
I've got the last one. What's a blind spot you found out about yourself that you wish you had known much earlier?
Because I feel very passionate. And I have always thought that's a positive thing. And I think it is a positive thing still now. But sometimes I think maybe that it was kind of like kind of uncontrolled energy that some people thought, oh, why is Grant so aggressive? I said, well, I don't think Grant's aggressive. I think he's just very energetic and passionate, really. But, you know.
You're a rock star.
Yeah. And so I used to wear a lot of like power suits before, pinstripe power suits, and my hair was kind of more slicked back. And somebody said I looked like, you know, like frontline sales in finance or something, you know, like a pretty aggressive look to me. So then when that passion came out, it's like, he's so intense, that Grant, you know? So, you know, obviously I looked a little bit more relaxed now, no tie, no power suits anymore.
Yeah, I like that you had this going on.
A little bit of a beard, you know, a little bit softer image, smile more when I speak.
Very nice. He's a lovely person, everybody. Okay, Grant, we covered a lot of ground today. Blind spots, Bulldozer, so much on leadership. Thank you so much for bringing your contagious passion here. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. I thought it was fun. We had so much laughter.
Yeah.
And you brought a lot of thoughtful contributions. So tell everybody, where can we find you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Cindy, for inviting me to be here. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. And I equally enjoyed the conversation with you and probably found out some new blind spots from me. I'm going to have to rewatch the episode to say, oh, I didn't know that about myself before here. Yeah, so for everybody, you can find me. My website is the same as my name, Grant. The nickname Grant Upbeat Bosnick, but my name is just the website.
Upbeat Bosnick.
Yeah, it's just grantbosnick.com. That would be the best place to find me.
To everyone watching, thank you for spending time with us on this episode. What's something that landed with you today, or maybe something that pricked you a little in a healthy way? Share with us in the comments, like and subscribe to stay connected. And remember, owning your BS is never about being perfect, but about taking the next step. I'm Cindy Tien, and this is the Own Your BS show, and I'll see you in the next episode.